What we do here is go back.
Before I dive headfirst into a pool of concrete, let me give you some backstory. As your new local content cop, I scour the internet daily hoping to make it a better place. I can't just focus on our most wanted list, otherwise everyday content criminals would get away scot-free. And today, that was my plan. Believe it or not, there was no plan for another iDubbbz mentioned on this channel until my Meet the JOMHA's deep dive video.
He's gimped, he's raped, he's gay.
And after today, no matter what happens, I'm going to stand by that. However, today, I had to make the exception. You see, today's video was only supposed to be about our little Australian empath known as DarkViperAU.
Why can you not stop lying? Please stop lying!
But thanks to my busy college schedule, my move in August, and, you know, the events of September 2025, a lot has changed. I'm putting this here in the beginning to let everyone know that this is not going to be the iDubbbz drama channel, and my last video goes further into that. But with all that out of the way, on to the video. Empathy. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another. An ability most are born with. Others unlock it at age 32. And others never gain it. Empathy. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? White girls on Twitter go nuts for this shit. Yo, what up, Black Panther? Welcome back to another episode of Content Cop. Today's episode will focus on two empaths, and for that reason, I feel it's important to lay out the term empathy. You know, what it means, how it's been misused, and why it's a buzzword for this genre of people. Empathy can be summarized as putting yourself in another person's shoes to understand and feel their emotions. You know, gay shit. Sometimes a total lack of empathy can be symptoms of conditions like autism, NPD, BPD, or sociopathy. Other times it stems from environmental factors. Everyone type 1 in the chat if you're a sociopath. Oftentimes the term is confused with another basic fucking human emotion, sympathy, which is feeling bad or feeling pity for someone else. The two are similar in nature, but very different in practice. Today's episode of Content Cop Reload is sponsored by my socials and my lovely patrons and members. For behind the scenes content and live streams, be sure to check out my second channel, Chaotic Cameron. Join the Discord server and interact with the community. And don't forget to follow that Twitter and Instagram, or you could support me like these lovely people by becoming a patron or channel member. And of course, don't forget to smash that motherfucking like button and subscribe, bitch. Now that we have our definitions laid out, let's get into how the term empathy has been misused and causes eye rolls for many. Other than its conflation with the term sympathy and other broad applications, the destruction of the term is pretty easy to pinpoint in my honest opinion. In fact, it directly ties to the uprising of virtue signaling that we covered in my last Content Cop. Most of the time when the term empathy gets brought up, it gets used in superficial corporate initiatives. It's often used as a catch-all term to show how you're the bestest person. It's weaponized in debate or discourse, or it's used by armchair psychologists to diagnose people, etc. In these cases, when many people feel overexposed to the term, they'll become cynical. My audience likely feels this cynicism every time they hear iDubbbz talk about his empathy. So why do our subjects today love to use this term? Well, it's their buzzword for morality, which in turn feeds on the vulnerable. It's their way of telling you that I'm a decent person. I feel everyone's pain. However, anyone with a brain can obviously tell you that that's just not the case. Like, nobody, with the exception of Jesus, is going to understand the life experience of everyone. In human nature, it's just harder to feel empathy for situations or people that you can't relate to. That's where sympathy should come in. Cameron, do you really think I'm a fucking idiot? Why are you telling me that? Well, that's a great question, and it'll all make sense. Remember to keep it in mind as we meet our empaths, because believe it or not, they're giant hypocrites and very whiny babies.
Looking at the light.
It's fucking distracting. Oh, good.
Now, our first empath is a familiar face to the channel. You know him, the 40-year-old empath, iDubbbz. Now, if you've already seen my Content Cop on iDubbbz, you could skip ahead 10 seconds. Are they gone? Good. You haven't watched my magnum opus? I swear. Take this citation and watch, or you're gonna pay a hefty fine. Not cool, dude. Unlike my predecessor, I try to be fair and give as much context as possible. But since you probably know the iDubbbz empathy lore, I won't spend too much time on it. However, for the sake of context, we can briefly go over his publicly stated principles on empathy. That way, we have it in mind for when we see that empathy in action. So, in 2023, after a miasma of controversy related to Creator Clash, iDubbbz dropped a video apologizing for his old edgy content. Y'all know the story. It was fine if he wanted to move on. He's free to do that. But then he dropped his out. His reasoning as to why he made the type of content that he did.
Of course I have empathy, but I never did. I think only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy, and I've realized it because I just can't help myself but feel for other people's pain and suffering now.
Unless they're your Jewish best friends, I guess. Okay, so he didn't have empathy, and now that he's gained it at age 32, he can't help but feel for other people's pain and suffering. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that one in mind, all right?
You know, my empathy meter's only maybe a quarter of the way filled up, potentially, but it's at least there.
Who could forget this out? We love this out, the empathy meter. He slid that in just in case he forgot to feel a few people's pain. You think it's funny? You think the empathy meter's funny? The empathy meter's bad, okay?
I just want you guys to know that you can unlock ability empathy if you experience more life. It might take you getting hurt a little bit, but it's worth it. It is so worth it.
It is so worth it. Woo! You feeling that empathy? I'm feeling that empathy. So his overall message laid out a couple of years ago about his empathy was that he gained it at age 32. He now feels for everyone's pain and suffering with the possible exception of the occasional miss as a result of that low empathy meter. But most importantly, if you put your heart and soul into it, acting up just thinking about it, you too can acquire empathy. Woo! Woo! Praise the Lord.
Let that Holy Ghost language come up out of you.
What a wholesome message, dude. If you're a fucking sociopath with zero life experience, my God, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but I'm pretty sure most normal people just kind of have that empathy. I'm pretty sure it's just there, okay? This isn't some life journey you usually have to seek out, okay? I can't be the only one. Maybe people are just built different, and I'm just a bigot. Regardless, there's a little brief rundown of Ian's empathy lore.
Fuck my wife. I'm sort of a cuckold man myself. Please, have a great time.
Now, let's move on to our next empath. The tyrant of Tylenol himself, DarkViperAU.
I was literally speechless. I did not speak that entire time because I was so confused why we were starting the game. I have never been this mad at a person in the entirety of my life!
A quick rundown of DarkViper for those unfamiliar. He's a YouTuber with a storied past and different ventures. He started as an atheist channel where he debated Christians, and then he went on to this freeboot gig where he was basically upscaling different debates and whatnot until it eventually got demonetized for, stealing content, which is very ironic. He also ran a reaction channel at one point, I'm pretty sure, until eventually becoming a GTA speedrunner. And for the past several years, he's been one to stick his little nose into all sorts of controversy and sometimes starting some drama of his own. He's got a history of horrible responses to criticism and just general schizo behavior that's been well documented. If you're just unaware or one of his diehard fans, I recommend you guys watch the videos about him by TheBritishRunner, who go way deeper than I'm willing to go into today. But for the sake of this video, I'll go over a few notable examples. He constantly inserts himself into drama, going on aggressive rants on Twitter. He's got the lolcow gene of unnecessarily responding to absolutely everything with pages and walls of text. Oftentimes he executes that classic cycle of starting some shit or attacking someone and then asserting himself correct, then his shitty behavior backfires, and then he plays the victim. He's got this crusade against React content, which, as someone who's pro fair use and heavily critical of lazy reaction videos, it sounds innocent enough. Until you realize how extreme he is with it. He claims all reactors are bad people. But before I go any deeper with that, this is just like a common trend with DarkViper. He just doesn't understand nuance. There's just never any in between. Anyways, in his tweet, he attaches a 14-page document, where he shows how strong his empathy is. He unironically makes the case that React content is comparable to date rape. I'm not joking.
There's a whole section in here where he basically compares reactors to sexual abuse criminals and insinuates that they'd be likely to spike your drink at a party, take silence for consent, basically is comparing React content creators to rapists. Completely unironically, it's not some edgy joke or anything, it's posting cringe on main that he truly believes and defends in the comments when someone called him out for it. It says, yeah, reactors are likely to commit sexual abuse. He says it's hyperbole, but only slightly so. The difference between actively ignoring consent for financial gain is not so far removed from ignoring consent for sexual gratification.
Calm down! You calm the fuck down!
He does this in order to label all reaction content creators as bad people, while also claiming that everyone fine with their content being reacted to is being forced to because of fucking the way the culture works or whatever. It's a very dumb argument, and it only makes those of us who are fine with transformative reaction content but have a problem with fair use violations in reaction content look bad. Most people initially disregarded the document because of how ridiculous it was, except for most critical who was mentioned in the document. Now, Charlie did get some things wrong while covering it, so in response, DarkViper made a video where he did correct Charlie in what he got wrong, while simultaneously having a huge fucking meltdown while misrepresenting Charlie.
I don't know what he's responding to here, but I did write a 14-page script explaining it's a 14-page document. You against a 14-page meticulously written page. It's 14-page meticulous page. It's 14 pages! On page 14, DarkViper, fuck the Loch Ness Monster, is 14 pages long. That's a 14-page fuck. Which is what I spent 14 pages establishing. We were in the 14 pages of writing. In all 14 pages that I wrote, I fucked the Loch Ness Monster, as I again established so heavily in that 14-page document.
He tried downplaying while simultaneously doubled down on his shitty date rape analogy. By the way, that's a tactic he'll be using a lot throughout this video, so be prepared for that. Where he doesn't refute this analogy, right? But he says, oh, but it's only a small part of the meticulously written 14 pages.
In order to poison you against a 14-page meticulously written document. It's 14 pages!
Despite it being alluded to multiple times throughout the document, this glorious crash out is still quoted to this day. Mwah, it's beautiful. And his reactions to people like Ethan Klein, who did commentary on this video, were about as sane as you'd expect.
How sick of an individual you have to be to do something like this? Like, if he was using it in some wholesome way, or shouting me out in some positive way, fine, but he's just using it to mock me. As I said here, it's sad that Ethan Klein's announcement of taking an indefinite break from H3H3 was clickbait. As someone who has been incessantly harassed by him for years in front of thousands, he is one of those truly deserving of being driven off the internet. A bully beloved by bullies. It would be different if this was a wholesome meme, as we try and use it, but Ethan and his fans clearly do not use or see it that way. In general, Ethan has never understood the difference between jokes and mockery. He views insults as jokes because he finds joy in hurting others. A part of the reason why I was more accepting of the 14 pages meme is because I tried to emotionally, or even in the public eye, claim back this meme from Ethan and his using it as a way to mock me and attack me.
He also has this gay habit of including featuring ex-YouTuber in the title of videos that he's responding to, despite the video obviously not being a collaboration. And the final major point I'll bring up is why I've been careful to show clips of DarkViper, which is his abuse of the DMCA system. To summarize, in a 40-minute VOD, commentary streamer and gawk lover Chud Logic was covering a 10-minute video made by DarkViperAU, where he was going after Jack's Films on some gay rant about reaction content again. DarkViper's claim was that because Chud reacted to the entire video, it infringed on his copyright. DarkViper then hired a lawyer because he couldn't figure out YouTube's DMCA system, who then took half a year to finally strike down Chud's video, which was later restored by YouTube. To be clear, in my opinion, and as well as many others, Chud's video was transformative and could have stood on its own against DarkViper's, protecting it under the fair use doctrine. Nobody looking for DarkViper's content is gonna head over to the Chud Logic stream to watch it there. That's just not gonna happen. He's also abused the DMCA system on other platforms to hide clips of him raging and one clip of him pulling an iDubbbz.
Bullshit. Wait. I said it with an A.
Man, those two sure do have a lot in common. Now that we've established that Dark Viper is a baby with some very questionable takes when it comes to content, where does the empathy come in? Well, other than a recent situation that this video was leading up to, he likes to throw around the word whenever convenient. However, in practice, I really haven't seen this empathy. What I have seen is him clickbaiting people, saying his ex-friend lied about his dad's cancer, which obviously never happened. Although, I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself. To his credit, he doesn't weaponize the term nearly as much as Ian. Speaking of, let's take a break from Dark Viper and check back in on our old pal Ian.
Every time I go outside, I look like I've been doing math.
Before we move on to our central topic, I want to take a brief moment to look at Ian's empathy in action. His original description was a bit vague, so let's try to understand him a little better. As I went over in my first content cop, we saw his empathy in action as he made a hit piece on his best friend of nearly a decade, in which he had a half-hearted attempt at empathy thrown in the end because the guy who rates apology videos told him to add it. But we've already covered that ground. Let's take a look at some very recent examples of his empathy principles.
This is something that people get confused about. Empathy, you don't direct it at everything, right? You get a little bit lost if you're empathetic about anything and everything, right?
What? People get confused. No, that was you who implied that. Don't get it twisted, all right?
I just like can't help myself but like feel for other people's pain and suffering now.
That's why people criticize you every time your little empathy meter misfires.
If you don't have any empathy to give, there's nothing to give. What are you going to do? You can't always do that. So, yeah, it doesn't mean that you can't try, though, sometimes. Like, I try sometimes, even when I'm watching this fucking stupid podcast.
Look at him rub his little brain just to muster that sentence out. Oh my goodness. The more I watch Ian, the more it becomes extremely apparent that he either doesn't understand empathy or he just uses the term performatively. I personally believe the latter. Why? Well, he kind of let the cat out of the bag. Not everyone will have empathy for everything, like in situations that they can't relate to or just don't understand. I agree, and it's true. But then he, in my opinion, attempts to backpedal on that statement by saying, well, you should always try. The reason he does that, of course, is to keep the performance going. Need I remind you all of the time that he performatively added the clip of him crying about, oh, how much he empathized with Ethan and Hila at the end of his hit piece about them? Now, let's be charitable and say it's not performative. If only I could get a clip of him actually exercising this empathy. Maybe then we'll have a clear understanding.
He's claiming that they were paid to come smear him on the show.
So this is a great moment where I am able to exercise empathy, right? Let's pay attention to how it works. It's totally possible that my boxing coach, my disgraced boxing coach, just wanted to come on and talk shit. And he had no expectation of receiving any money. But he did receive money. And that was in the live stream. It all happened simultaneously, basically. They can, you know, fucking squabble over, well, they came on and then we paid them. They had no idea. Here's proof they had no idea. They were paid. That's the fucking point. Getting paid is the point. It's not the order in which things happened.
So empathy is lying that your boxing coach was paid to smear you on a podcast, then lying about the fact that you said that in order to make an entirely different point as if you never said that they were paid to go on the podcast.
They already spilled their guts. They were getting paid like $5,000 to go on this podcast.
I'm going to be sending you guys $5,000.
No, they were not. They were promised a bonus that you did not pay, so he paid it for you during the show. It was during the show. They were not getting paid to go on the show, you fucking liar. I'm not seeing it. What it looks like to me is you being a malicious snake, not an empath. But hey, I'm 21, not 32. Maybe I'm just not getting it yet. Hila, if you're watching, can you send me a Teddy Fresh hat? I'm a cat collector. I want a Teddy Fresh hat. DM me. I want a Teddy Fresh hat. So he's a performative empath. I believe he has empathy. However, I also believe that he uses the term to virtue signal towards people's morals whenever convenient. I think he's a selfish empath. which is kind of gay. I'm gonna be real, this has nothing to do with the video, but I just wanted to point out how funny and empathetic it is that Anisa would jump in front of a train to defend Hassan from sending the might of Zeus to his dog for moving an inch, but was unwilling to defend Ethan and Neela from the allegations that their dogs were shitting all over the floor and giving their kids diseases. One of those claims has a lot more proof than the other.
Please just fucking go, just stop.
Because, you know, it's fine if CPS gets called on my best friends of nearly 10 years, but God forbid people think that Hassan shocked his dog, even though it clearly looks like he did.
No, it wasn't confirmed Hill Kid. There's no... It was confirmed that it was a fucking vibration collar, or that the dog had a vibration collar. Not even that he used it. That's just what the dog has.
If I publicly said that Ethan and Neela are great with their kids, Ethan and Neela didn't kill their dog, and Ethan and Neela wipe their asses or don't have giardia or whatever the fucking the prompt is.
The only person who would care is me, because I'm like, why did I tweet this out? I'm not tweeting out because I'm not your fucking lapdog.
Oh, well, I guess they are Hassan's lapdog after all. We have official confirmation. Not that we really needed it. So now that we've introduced our two empaths, allow me to explain the conflict here. I'm personally of the belief that people should stay consistent with what they preach into your face. If you're gonna say your old offensive content is bad, disavow your old fan base, and claim to have gained so much empathy that you don't know what to do with, you can't then go on to do the same exact thing with a different coat of paint. This concept was heavily gone over in my first two videos on iDubbbz, where we talked about his conflict with H3, and my point still stands. The same way Ian's empathy didn't extend to Tana in 2017, it doesn't extend to Ethan and Neela in 2025. Except, you know, the differences being the lack of good arguments, offensive language, and the addition of the empathy performance. What Ian is doing here is what many call safe edgy, where instead of maybe calling someone an artard, you diagnose them with a mental illness. It should be just as derogatory by their definition. Ian understood this in his Tana content cop, but now it seems to have been replaced by a CTE. A recent example of this would be Ian's latest video where he calls himself stoic and then immediately kills it by bitching about people and attacking people who make fun of him and his weird wife. In this video, he targets, or as I like to say, promotes, several creators, including the Kino Casino. Now, the Kino Casino is heavily associated with the Kiwi Farms, which is a gossip site, or in Anisa and husband's case, the opposite of the H3 snark. Ian has made his opinion on the farms very apparent in that he is not fond.
Yeah, they're snark-brained. Everyone's snark-brained. Oh, this is a snark talking point. This is a snark thing. These freaks are on fucking Kiwi Farms and all these legitimate stalker websites. They are on them.
He attempts to make this point in the video that online bullying is a problem and tries to call out one of the hosts of the Kino Casino, PPP or Ashton, for saying that when you overshare online, people are going to make fun of you for it.
Because you shared it online?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's what people are going to do because they want to get a reaction out of you.
Yeah.
I don't think they probably even really believe the stuff that they're saying, but they know because it's extreme and, like, edgy that it will cause you mentally spiral like this. So that's why they do it.
Now, I'll say it, it's good advice, but Ethan's point totally ignores that advice. Instead, he's upset with Ashton's semantics for using the word people because Ashton has made some of the jokes himself.
He's literally bullied and made fun of her dad who has Alzheimer's.
With a late-stage dementia patient.
He's got Alzheimer's. He wants Ashton to acknowledge that he's part of the problem.
Something that he's very familiar with. But for some reason, in this moment, he refuses to take any ownership of the fact that he is part of the problem. It makes you wonder why. And we get a little window into that at the end of the clip.
This is how the internet works. It shouldn't be, but that's how it is.
Hey, Simple Ian, just so you're aware, the internet is an all-encompassing term which would include him, so he technically did take accountability. Later on stream, he relays the same message to Ethan, that Ethan's also part of the problem. So it's very clear based on these clips that he's not fond of gossip sites and really wants accountability for the people who are bullying him. But of course, that accountability does not extend to himself, as in the video, he throws a ton of jabs and insults towards the people that he's covering.
I am quiet, stoic, freaks.
This stupid fucking loser and his dumb as rocks wife, absolute fucking creep weirdo. These fucking losers. The fat one and his cohort.
And in a recent stream, here he is shouting at the current H3 Snark subreddit, who not only slanders and harasses Ethan and Hila, but anyone who speaks positively of the pair.
And we are on the Leftovers subreddit. Shout out Leftovers.
Didn't Anisa also go after Ethan for his Tourette's tics, saying that he was on drugs? Wasn't that a thing? Well, in terms of hypocrites, you talk about them. A lot of people do. I've never seen ones bigger than Ian and Anisa. iDubbbz, very big hypocrites. It's truly sad. I've never seen bigger hypocrites in my life. Now, if you want my personal opinion, I don't care how edgy any of these people want to be. But you can't be inconsistent about it. Otherwise, you're either a hypocrite or a bigot. Or in Ian's case, you're both. Also, for context, this was Ashton's response.
Monetizing your own father's illness. No one needs to know about your father's illness. Leave your family members, their issues, their problems, their illnesses in your private life, and it will stay private. I'll say this too. Because they're going to play these clips of me like dunking on Ian, having to live with the father that has dementia or whatever. I'm not doing that to dunk on the father. I'm doing that to dunk on you and Anisa. And by the way, Anisa's father will never, ever see Kino Casino. And if he does, he'll forget it very quickly.
Okay. I feel that alone demonstrates my point, but we're not done yet. And it'll get a lot darker as we continue. But first, I need to take a little trip to a land down under. It's time for a Viper hunt. Crikey, mate, we're out in the hot down under. We're looking for a viper, a dark viper to be exact. He's a slippery little snake, mate. Approaching the jungle down under, that's where we are. I had to leave my crew behind because it's a very dangerous mission. But all we know is that he likes 14 pages, so wish me luck, mate. Alright, mate, crikey. I've been out here for a while, looking for the viper. Oh, a squirrel just fucking fell. You gotta find the 14 pages, it's a key sign. Finding the viper. Stinky little bugger. Crikey. What's that over there? Oh, crikey. Oh my goodness. Yeah, mate, this is the viper. 2, 6, 8. I'm getting scared, mate. 12, 14. What does it mean? What does it mean? Oh, blooming bloody hell, mate. Blooming bloody hell, mate.
I have never been this mad at a person in the entirety of my life. It's 14 pages.
I have a confession to make. A brave take that even the strongest of men could never say. A take that even has Jesus a little shocked. I don't like politics. I know, right? Real shocking. But seriously, I wanted to get into why myself and many others are just really turned off by it. Trust me, it is relevant to the video. Growing up, I was always really fascinated by history. I mean, I grew up in Appalachia, so any Virginian knows you can't really escape it. So naturally, when I got older, I grew interested in politics. But by the time I reached adulthood, that interest quickly faded. It's gotten to the point where I'll inform myself whenever I need to vote and actively avoid it otherwise, unless I absolutely need to for a video. And there's a very simple reason for why that is, and I think many people can relate. With the rise of social media, the political landscape has become a war zone of hell. Many people are now more radicalized into their positions and are secluded into their own echo chamber of their ideas because the algorithms are designed to feed them what they like. With that, very simple disagreements on issues become friendship-ruining battles for some people. There are a lot of people who believe that someone's political take dictates their humanity. To me, that's horrifying, and it's turned me off from politics. And on top of that, I'm a content creator, okay? My job is to make entertaining content. That's it. I'm not a pundit, I'm not a political analyst, I'm a dumbass. And I don't give my political opinions for that reason. And if you expect anything else out of me, that's hilarious and you're not getting it. Like, do you really need your take on fucking immigration or climate change to be validated by the dumbass who runs in the bushes for content? Are you that insecure in your beliefs? On the occasion that politics do come up on this channel, it's because it's tied to a situation I'm covering and I've unwillingly had to learn about it. Anywho, that's my rant. Back to the video. Okay, so my next subject is about the Charlie Kirk situation from last month that 99.9% of you are probably aware of. Who can forget the autism announcement at the funeral? Nevertheless, I'd like to provide the context and share my perspective, as the internet is quick to forget. As a quick aside, I'll be the first to tell you that there are several things I disagreed with Charlie Kirk on. I've also criticized him and his format several times on stream. However, that does not justify what happened. So to recap, on September 10th, 2025, at Utah Valley University, conservative influencer Charlie Kirk hosted his first event of his American Comeback Tour. At these events, he would often debate audience members, primarily college students, who disagreed with him. These debates were part of his Prove Me Wrong debate series, and this event was his first of many planned tour stops. Around 3,000 people attended the event, crowded around the amphitheater where Charlie was speaking. The crowd primarily consisted of college students aged 18 through 24. Others in attendance included younger teenagers along with their parents, faculty, and other off-campus individuals. It is also rumored that Charlie's wife Erica and their two children, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, were also in attendance. Things seemed to be going to plan, however, as many of you know, things quickly took a dark turn. At around 12:23 p.m. Mountain Time, while Charlie was debating the second speaker, a single shot was fired from the rooftop of a nearby building, striking Charlie in the neck. Due to the bullet likely hitting his jugular vein, an intense fountain of blood quickly poured from Charlie's neck as his muscles tensed up before quickly collapsing onto the ground. As the crowd ducked in fear, Charlie was rushed to the hospital while the news rapidly spread online. Graphic videos of the shooting spread on the internet like wildfire, leaving even the most desensitized to graphic content feeling sick and in shock. Meanwhile, in the hospital, after multiple procedures including emergency surgery to save his life, Charlie Kirk was pronounced dead. President Trump announced his death on Truth Social, but the truth of the matter is Charlie Kirk was likely dead before his body hit the ground after being shot. To put it mildly, the country was in shock. I'll speak for myself and say I was even pretty shook up by this. My entire day just stopped, and I felt physically ill after seeing the graphic videos of the assassination. Prominent figures in the political space were quick to condemn the violence. Other conservative figures were in pain, and other polarizing figures were in fear. However, there were also a good chunk of people who were very happy about the news, cheering, dancing, and raving over the murder of a 31-year-old father. I want to make this very clear. You don't have to like Charlie Kirk. You don't have to agree with or like what he believed. You don't even have to care that he died. You're free to feel how you want, and I won't stop you, judge you, or chastise you for feeling that way. But I will say I think that celebrating or justifying the assassination is disgusting. Pause! Why am I telling you this? Why is the content cop moral flagging? Well, it ties into our key topics today: empathy and the freedom of speech. Let me explain. I think you should be able to joke about or say whatever you want within reason. Now, I'm no free speech absolutist. That historically has led to degeneracy. I'm looking at you, YMS. However, when it comes to jokes, I think everyone has the freedom to have some dark humor. With that said, you also can't be a pussy about it and try to moralize it or hide behind a virtue signal. Because those who hear the joke are free to criticize you for it and feel disgusted. So don't try to shield yourself from criticism with moral arguments if you're gonna claim dark humor. That's what makes the First Amendment beautiful. It's the checks and balances of freedom of speech within the human condition. Same thing goes with political debate. People have the right to safely express their ideas and get scrutinized for it. This should have happened with Charlie, but that's not what happened. So when people have certain stated principles or morals that they disregard all in the name of dark humor or the virtue signal, I'm free to call it out, which is exactly what I'm gonna take a shot at doing today. I need to change my vocabulary, which is exactly what I'm going to do today. A little over 5 hours after the death of Charlie Kirk was announced, while, the body was still warm, DarkViperAU took to Twitter to give his hot take on the whole situation, saying, "It is morbidly ironic that the best way to honor a man who said empathy is bad and gun deaths a necessary cost is to feel nothing at his death. Empathy would betray his philosophy that we ought to show a brutal disregard for the well-being of anyone unlike ourselves." I'm glad you chimed in. Everyone knows that Australian GTA speedrunners, who are also giant crybabies online, are the best source for American political analysis. Look, there are multiple things wrong with this post. First of all, Dark Viper would be the first person to flip his shit if a dark joke was made at the expense of himself. In fact, he actually does that with the 14 pages meme.
I don't think Ethan is a very good person, and his using a soundbite of one of the most traumatic, angry moments of my entire life for many, many years on his stream, perhaps 100 times, is a bit more than excessive and very sick.
The most traumatic.
It's 14 pages!
14 pages of rules for life.
It's 14-page,
You can-
meticulously argued document.
Second of all, the overall sentiment contradicts itself, especially considering his constant virtue signaling, which he quickly continues after this post. But before I get into my other problems with DarkViper's argument here, the last thing I'll mention now is that he quotes Charlie's take on empathy out of context.
The new communication strategy is not to do what Bill Clinton used to do, where he would say, I feel your pain. Instead, it is to say, you're actually not in pain. So let's just very short clip. Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time. Here's cut 65. Bill Clinton talking about how I feel your pain. Listen to how he's talking. Listen to how he's trying to lean in to people's struggles and concerns.
So Charlie was critical of the term empathy and said that we should have sympathy. I personally disagree, and I think we should have both. This clip alone has me a little mixed. However, shortly after that quote, he criticizes politicians for not having empathy towards citizens.
Of why are Democrats now not even acknowledging things are difficult? So let's go to this tape. Cut 49, Janet Yellen. I think the United States is doing very well. So people are in pain. They can't pay for bills. They can't pay for groceries. They can't pay for gas. And Democrats could at least say, we feel it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to try to, come to common ground. No, instead it is, no, actually things are great.
I actually had no idea about that until researching for this video. So saying Charlie said he thought feeling empathy is bad is inaccurate based on the source. But 30 minutes after that tweet, he followed up with, I believe empathy matters and gun violence is never a worthy sacrifice. It's tragic that Charlie Kirk rejected those values in life. Against his passionate wishes, we should see his death as unjust and commit ourselves to reducing the very harm he worked to spread in life. That's not even a virtue signal. That's a fucking virtue terrorist attack. Good God. So he does this classic backpedal but double down maneuver, where he ignores the fact that he originally said that we should feel nothing at his death, now adding this new sentiment that we should be the bigger people and show some empathy, while also doubling down on his empathy lie. That sentiment was short-lived in true Dark Viper fashion, as not even 3 hours later he keeps going on and on and on. If you care, pause the video because I ain't reading all these out, but the general sentiment of these posts are his feelings of how horrible of a person Charlie was, how much he hated Charlie. Occasionally he'll throw in the reply of how the murder was unjust, after of course reiterating how horrible of a person he saw Charlie to be. And just to be super duper clear and dispel a lie by this person, no, Dark Viper never claimed that Charlie's murder was justified. What he did do is make a shitty argument with very cringy moral reasoning at a very bad time. And regardless of if Dark Viper's claims about Charlie Kirk are right or wrong, the shit he is doing contradicts his empathy virtue signal, which is what I am criticizing. And it also contradicts this statement he made 12 days prior to Charlie's assassination. What does he actually feel? Well, we're about to get a new take from him thanks to Jeremy from the Quartering. That name might trigger a Winter Soldier moment for some audience members because Jeremy might be even more pathetic than Dark Viper. I welcome you all to do your own research on him, but basically the Quartering's a shitty right-wing grifter lolcow. To summarize why he's relevant today, after Charlie's death, Jeremy just fucking snapped, and basically when Jeremy saw the tweets from Dark Viper, he just went fucking insane. Jeremy was on a mass campaign to get everyone who joked about Charlie Kirk canceled, including Dark Viper, who ended up receiving death threats. And to that I say, Dark Viper, you don't deserve death threats, harassment, doxing, etc. That's deplorable and wrong. But I feel it's only ironic that you reap what you sow. Again, it's fine to hate Charlie Kirk's politics, but it's just probably not the best idea to shit on his corpse before it's cold, while half the nation is mourning his death and then complaining about the consequences. That said, Jeremy is a fucking whiny idiot who should log off the internet forever. In his video response to Jeremy, he defends his use of dark jokes, which implies that his statements are jokes, which also implies a level of insincerity.
A political commentator that I don't particularly like in America has died. Not something I'm getting comments on. I don't really make those political statements on Twitter anymore. But I saw a commentary on his stances and I was like, oh, that's actually morbidly ironic. Given that they were posts with hundreds of thousands of likes, I was like, oh, well, I guess, the conversation about this is kind of over anyway. If something's getting hundreds of thousands of likes, it must have been talked about for quite a while at this point. I mean, whatever my contribution, who would focus on what I would say amongst these posts that have like 500,000 likes? Surely not some clout goblin, war-desiring person named Jeremy. I am, however, a person who who likes dark jokes. If you've ever seen one of my out of context videos, I make a lot of dark jokes.
He then pulls a wild card on us by playing a 2-minute compilation of said dark jokes, in which half of them are just jokes about him liking kids.
But Your Honor, she was almost 16. Sir, she's 13 and a half. That's almost 16.
He then goes on to explain how it's morbidly ironic how Charlie Kirk died in a school shooting given his previous takes against gun control.
And Charlie Kirk, a person who openly said that deaths from gun violence are necessary for Americans to have the rights that they do, and further a person who downplayed the significance of school shootings every chance he got, died in a school shooting. I, like half the planet, observed that is morbidly ironic.
Which I have to say, if you know anything about American proposed gun laws, you know how fucking dumb this statement is. The gun used to kill Charlie Kirk was a Mauser bolt-action rifle, a rifle commonly used for hunting. Most proposed gun laws in the US look to ban automatic weapons or assault weapons. So even if Charlie Kirk wasn't against gun control, which somehow caused all the assault weapons and all the automatic weapons to vanish in thin air, he still would have been killed because the gun used would have been unaffected. Dark Viper should know this well if he wants to talk about irony, because that rifle is legal in Australia, the nation known for its strict gun laws.
To be clear, I was not insincere in anything that I wrote. I believe everything that I wrote, but my goal was to simply point out that in tragedy, there can be some dark humor.
Wait, so it wasn't a joke, it was sincere the whole time. Whatever, I won't play the semantics game, I guess morbidly ironic, whatever. I'll look past it this time. I assume he meant to say humor originally instead of joke.
I'm sorry if you don't like dark humor, but while death itself is not funny, circumstances around a death can be.
I have no problem with that sentiment. I do think his take is kind of dumb, where it's like, look guys, 800k people like this post joking about the death. That means I can give my take without any criticism. It's like, no dude, you could still be criticized, because like, guess what? Damn near 80 million people voted for this guy. Does that mean he's immune to criticism? Fuck no.
It was only after people didn't understand this that I felt I had to continue to clarify. Consider my surprise when I found out that half the planet doesn't know what the word morbid means. That is to say grim, tragic, and disturbing. Seemingly missing the point entirely, that I was just making a dark observation without much point.
Ah yes, the best humor needs to be clarified. My issue here is he's using his one instance of morbid irony to push back against everyone criticizing him for his ill-timed opinions and just being a giant pussy about it. Meanwhile, hiding behind the humor and the irony that he whines about whenever it's used against him.
The most traumatic.
A few days after this, Dark Viper went on a full meltdown, screaming at a much smaller channel, telling him to delete all the videos he made criticizing him.
Why can you not stop lying? Please stop lying! What is wrong with you? Like every single thing in this fucking video, your newest video is a lie! All I said, I just want you to acknowledge what you did and apologize. I spent 4 days of my life trying to get you to do that. And at every fucking turn, you said, no, fuck you. You just wouldn't even acknowledge what I wanted you to apologize for. Even in this fucking video, you still would not acknowledge what I wanted to apologize for. 4 days. Anytime you wanted me, I helped you. And you just keep doing this. Why? You know, if you felt sorry, you delete these fucking videos full of lies.
Now, I don't really know the ins and outs of this situation. I do know that this kid's dad had cancer, and he apologized to Dark Viper for the way he made his initial video while still maintaining the criticism he gave Dark Viper in the video. The kid later posted a video about his suicidal ideation and how other people in the GTA community were pressuring him to make more videos about Dark Viper, which prompted Dark Viper's meltdown. And to be very clear, I'm not saying Dark Viper is responsible for this kid's mental state, and I don't know and frankly don't care who is or isn't in the right. I just think it's incredibly shitty of Dark Viper to constantly scream and whine and play victim against critics while he can be as aggressive as he wants without anyone being allowed to respond.
Hey, I don't like the guy, but empathy matters. Gun violence ain't the answer to anything, and Charlie Kirk's death was clearly unjust.
Charlie Kirk said, ha 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 ha, he deserved it. Right, Dark Viper? Big tough guy.
It's so tiresome to hear both of these idiots. Jeremy is blatantly misrepresenting Dark Viper by claiming he explicitly said that Charlie Kirk deserved to die. Meanwhile, Dark Viper is trying to morally grandstand about empathy after telling everyone to feel nothing at Kirk's death.
As time went on though, I became more and more annoyed at people's moral posturing. This is something, if you know me at all, is something that I'm always annoyed about. I hate performative activism or people lying about their beliefs or pretending that they believe something just because they think it'll be popular. I hate that shit. People were unironically saying that they are universally outraged and saddened by any untimely death, and are equally saddened and outraged by any celebration of it. People obviously focus on and mourn the deaths of those they care more about, people who more align with their political interests, and they downplay deaths of people that they don't care as much about, or who didn't align with their interests.
This is the funniest part of the video for me. Like, he's basically making my point for me, but he's just too blind, as always, to see how big of a fucking bumbling hypocrite he is. Yeah, dude, a lot of people in this space are mourning. A lot of people who agreed with his politics are mourning. Some people see he had a wife and kids and feel empathy over it. So maybe instead of shitting on the guy while virtue signaling your beliefs before the body is cold, you can shut the fuck up. He then shows this dog shit tweet on screen while he's arguing the exact opposite thing. He's saying, oh my god, I'm losing brain cells. I don't know if I can do this. Maybe checking in on Ian will help me out a bit. Let's see what Mr. Empathy has to say.
Yeah, the whole thing is just sick. Yes, to fuck a chow. That is the one take that I came across. Vanilla Mace. Vanilla Mace's comment on it, I was just like, yes, yes! Like, the fact that she had no amount of, like, she was not being, what's the word? Like, she wasn't trying to mince her, like, choose her words carefully or whatever. Like, she said exactly what, in my opinion, needs to be said.
Alright, great. Looks like we're gonna have to do some digging. Well, what did she say that's got all Anisa's husband over here creaming his pants? She uses copyrighted music throughout, so I can't play the audio, but basically, she explains that she got some backlash for reposting something that said that you can't separate Charlie from his politics, which I assume had some further implications. Otherwise, I can't understand how that alone would get her backlash. She then goes on to say the Dark Viper take that he was arguing against simultaneously, which is, why does everyone care about this and not the school shootings that happen all the time? What about the children in Palestine also? Which is such a fucking non-argument. Guess what? All unjust death is bad. And naturally, people are going to be louder about the things that they have a closer connection to. I think we can all acknowledge that violence against innocent people is bad. Sorry. Am I being a little too... This is a brave take. Whew. Gosh, intellectuals today, huh? Wait a second. But don't worry, Ian gave his own take not too long after this stream while he was reacting to a BreadTube video about Miss Rachel.
Here in the state that I feel like this woman is, and what I believe the state Charlie Kirk was in, is that you just haven't seen enough of the world, and you're not really, you don't have to see more. You don't have to see people suffering. You know, like, you can very much choose to be in, you know, your tight, super tight-knit, wealthy community, and so you never have to come to grips with, oh, I might have been wrong about this, or, ooh, this is a little bit more complicated than I thought it was.
He's always so quick to patronize people. And I don't think you're the guy to be telling people to live more life. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you spend most of your life living in the Californian suburbs with your parents and didn't move out until the whole YouTube thing went well for you? I don't know if spending most of your life in one place is living more life, okay? Charlie was 3 years younger than you, and his career was to go cross country and talk to people with different ideas. You can criticize his motivations, you can hate his ideas, but for the sake of this argument, clearly one of you was actively looking for different ideas, and it's not you. I don't know, man. Maybe if Charlie was sheltered, he'd still be around.
Yeah, it only got more that way with time, and I think that's one of the reasons I didn't really have any hope for this guy, like, turning over a new leaf. Like, maybe he could with time if he after he essentially won the presidential election for Trump and he was advocating for all these things and seeing how shit things are becoming, maybe he could have had a come to Jesus moment. Yeah, he was getting paid to stay that way. That's true. It's hard because I definitely project a little bit in these cases, and I'm like, oh, there was like, he was interested in discovering things. He was just maybe mistaken. It's like, no, he just like, he got fucking worse and worse, and money doesn't make it any fucking better. And it's beyond that, right? He's trying to like preach this shit before he knows how to wipe his own ass.
Word on the street, Ian, is that you still have not learned how to wipe your ass. That's word on the street. That's from the streets. I'm really from these streets. To me, this looks like Ian was empathetic towards Charlie, but his chat isn't. So he's actively trying not to be empathetic towards Charlie anymore. He went from, oh, maybe he could have come around to, nah, there was no saving him by reading chat. Ian, didn't you discover empathy at 32 saying, oh, with enough time and enough masturbation, anyone can discover empathy? You realize Charlie was murdered at 31? He wasn't given enough time, man. What are you talking about? You're saying that since Charlie was so politically involved at a young age, there was no saving him. Meanwhile, this is the type of stuff you were saying at age 25. Ian, aren't you that N-word guy? Aren't you the N-word, F-word guy? Remember that episode of South Park, the N-word guy? I don't think you've apologized to Jesse Jackson enough, Ian. I think you still need to kiss his ass. I need a picture of that, and then maybe we can move forward. Before I show you guys the next clip, I'm actually going to show Ethan and Neela's reaction first, just so you guys can see the difference and see a little bit of what empathy actually looks like.
That's not how we enact change. And so I wouldn't recommend watching the video, but for me, it it's terrifying.
I feel like it's such a terrifying moment for everybody, and to understand this is what we've come to.
All right, now back to Ian. Now this pattern continues throughout the stream until he finally says this.
Let me say, I'm not fucking crying over it. I fucking refuse to cry over that shit, and you know, I'm not judging anyone who's making jokes and shit, because obviously we don't want that in chat, TOS and all that. But it is a very fucking, like, it is serious shit. Like, when you start to see these Charlie Kirk quotes and what he was talking about, there are so many. There's like a new one every day, and it just gets more disgusting. And to be honest, the outcome is literally like what he describes in all of his debates. So I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah. Woo! Justifying the outcome is kind of wild. I also love the sentiment where he's been on this multi-year crusade against the edgy humor that he gained popularity from, but now all of a sudden he just doesn't care anymore. That's fine. But TOS. I just want some consistency, man. Even Hassan had a more human reaction than this. He keeps up that sentiment for the rest of the stream. You know, Christianity is bad. Charlie would have never found empathy, yada yada. But I think y'all get the idea. There are a lot more clips I could show you where Ian goes after Ethan for being upset with Hassan's camp criticizing him. The criticism in question Ethan is upset with, by the way, is the betrayal of his best friends, people calling CPS on his kids and sending him real-life human skulls, you know. Just, you know, some fucking harassment, death threats, you know. At least Ethan has an argument. Meanwhile, Ian can't see the obvious hypocrisy where he's constantly whining about people coming after him and his wife for being hypocritical assholes. Before I conclude, I think it's important that we take Ian's advice to go out to the world and hear people's perspective on things.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live! Fuck it! We'll do it live!
Thank you for joining us this evening. Henry Handjob reporting live in studio for 10 News. Tonight, the raging debate on the epidemic sweeping the nation. Empathy. What does it mean? Will it affect us all? And could we be next? To cover more ground, we sent our own Freddie Fagocini out on the streets to get more information from the people. Freddie? All right, hi, how are you? What's your name?
Good. My name is CJ.
Adriana, do you guys know what empathy is?
Have like compassion for other people or
Yeah,
feel
like
how they feel.
See people in their shoes, right?
Feeling sensitivity towards another person besides yourself.
Now, how old are you guys?
I'm 25.
25? Okay.
18.
Would you guys think you have empathy?
No.
You'll get it at 32, trust me.
For others, I mean, yeah, I would say so.
All right, word.
25.
25?
22.
You guys have empathy?
Yeah.
Developed it from birth, not at age 32 or anything? Yeah. All right, good. That's good. Is pee stored in the balls?
Is pee stored in the balls?
He has an answer.
What does that mean? Explain what balls is pee stored in.
You know, your balls.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Well, it depends on situations they may have went through.
A skinny, bald white dude who lives in California.
It depends on what that guy went through, man. You know?
Went through nothing, had a good family.
Well, yeah, it is a bit mediocre.
Yeah, said the N-word on the internet.
Or, you know, he might, okay. So said the N-word on the internet. What else he do? Like, why? Like, okay.
He thought it was funny to him at the time.
And what age was he when he did that?
Like 26.
Like 26. But at 32, you saying? Okay.
He also likes to watch other women or other men fuck his wife, allegedly.
Oh goodness.
Would you guys consider yourselves stoic?
Absolutely not.
Are we talking about a specific individual here?
His name is iDubbbz on YouTube.
iDubbbz.
Like if your wife tried to like peg you, you'd say no.
You would not say no. Talk to him about it.
50-50? Right.
Oh no shit.
What's his following like?
Well, it used to be pretty big.
So you fucking it up for him?
A little bit. Not
Okay.
just me.
All right, man. Good shit, man.
Not just me.
Good shit.
Last question. I'm going to end it on a more serious note. What do you guys think about people celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk?
You know, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Murder isn't right, man.
Right.
You know? So,
Whether or not you agree with them. I personally didn't agree with them.
hey, facts. Hey, murder isn't right, man. That's the only thing that I can say about that situation right there.
It's fucked up.
It's
no matter what your
horrible.
political views are, I don't think anybody should die for what they believe in.
So if someone says they feel no empathy for this person, but touts empathy, this is a very specific place I'm going, but they tout empathy all the time, it's probably contradictory.
They're low-key contradicting themselves, I feel like. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah, you guys have a good day. Chat, let's all say one nice thing about each other. As this video comes to an end, I think it's important that I lay out my point because I threw a lot of information out there. I think Charlie Kirk's situation stands as a cautionary tale to all of us that we shouldn't see debate and speech as violence. If we judge people's morality and existence to their political opinions, we're playing a dangerous game. I don't think that's a crazy concept, but maybe I grew up a little differently than Hashimoto's and Dr. Empath. I'll be the first to tell you that I've been on record criticizing Charlie Kirk, and I didn't agree with things that he said. Does that mean I can't feel for his family? No! And I know I'm not the only one to feel that way. With that said, if you don't feel for him, that's fine. All I ask for is some consistency and a little bit of humanity. Don't morally grandstand your empathy to me and in the same breath feel the need to shout from the rooftops before an autopsy is even performed about how much you hated this guy and don't feel bad about what happened. On top of the virtue signaling, if your entire personality online is being a fucking crybaby, I don't think people are gonna take you that seriously, nor feel bad for you when the internet shits on you for it. If you actually want to learn some perspective or even some compassion, start with the people that you don't like most. Otherwise, stop virtue signaling, drop the act, and I don't know, fucking shit on a table or something. To close, I'll echo the words of a once reasonable man. It's either all okay or none of it is. Stick by that and stop making exceptions.
We have an early look at DarkViperAU's response.
What?
That's right.
Oh, we have an early look at Dark Viper's response. Let's see.
I've had enough. I cannot believe it. I seriously cannot believe it. I've been almost up for 24 hours. I will not chill.
Bro is a fantasy writer on par with Sanderson.
Indeed. Fucking indeed. I'm not used to dealing with this level of anger. I don't understand how to deal with this level of anger. I cannot understand how a person has spent days repeating the same lies over and over again. This is a valid crash out.
DarkViper, fuck the Loch Ness Monster.
How sick of an individual you have to be to do something like this? It doesn't show the context. It's just like, here's what the document's about. It's 14 pages. Why can you not stop lying? Please stop lying. What is wrong with you? 4 days.
And when I finally go, well, I have to delete this problem. I need one fucking video, one live stream, with the horrible things you did, and now I'm harassing you. I will not chill.
So finally,
Deputy Fields.
What?
Ian JOMHA is threatening to make another content cop.
Ian JOMHA is threatening to make another content cop.
These nuts got it.
Oh man. Well, now what? Say no.